All right, welcome back, students. So we have two lectures this week, and we're talking about one of your 4Ps, and this one is place. So when we talk about place, what we really mean is channels of distribution. And some of what I'm talking about here is also in the instructor-only video for this week's module. But when we talk about place, out of the 4Ps, this is the one that as marketers, we tend to change this one the least, because to add a new place, which is a new way of distributing your products in a new distribution channel, maybe you're a retailer and you want to sell online. Maybe you're online and now you want to sell in retail stores. When you add a new channel of distribution, place, those terms are interchangeable, it's complicated. You are competing against a whole new set of competitors, and you might upset the channels that you had already set up to sell your product. If you think about it, if you are a retail chain and you have a bunch of retail stores and they're owned by franchisees, say for example, and you decide that you want to now start selling online because the profit margins are a lot higher, you don't have to operate stores, and you're going to have an increased margin. Well, that's good for you, the company, but it's not good for all those franchise retailers that have those locations set up, right? You're going to damage their sales. So the process of place is kind of dictated by your existing business model, and it is the one component out of the 4Ps that marketers tend to fiddle with the least. That being said, there are times when marketers decide it is time to start selling our product in a new channel of distribution. And in my video only lecture, I give you some examples from my career with Petco and some other companies. You know, look at somebody like California Pizza Kitchen. They have restaurants. They sell their pizzas in restaurants. And then they became a popular brand, and they decided to, do contract manufacturing with one of the frozen pizza manufacturers. And I'm sure that's a licensing deal where CPK is not involved. They're not buying a manufacturing plant and learning how to make frozen pizzas, but they have licensed the California Pizza Kitchen brand name to a pizza manufacturer, and they're paying a royalty, meaning a fee on each pizza they sell, and then they're handling the distribution, etc. So on this slide, I show you Dell computers. Dell was one of the first companies that had, in the technology space, direct distribution, which means you could contact the producer directly, that's Dell, and you could order a computer and it would ship directly to you. There weren't any other intermediaries in between the process. That is unusual. Most products that we buy have some type of intermediary, a wholesaler or a retailer. It's very rare to be able to go directly to the producer and have it go directly back to you. Amazon is not direct distribution. There are thousands of companies, probably millions, that sell their products to Amazon, and then Amazon features them on their website, maybe holds the inventory, or maybe the vendor ships it directly, and they in turn sell it to us, the final consumer, and do the distribution piece. That is not direct distribution. That manufacturer, whether it's a phone or a mobile slide advancer, they're manufacturing it and selling it to Amazon in some type of large, business order, a contract to sell X thousands of units to Amazon. Amazon puts it on their website, promotes it, maybe even holds it for distribution, and then sells it to the final consumer. So Amazon, in essence, is the retailer. So don't think that because you buy something online that means that product is direct distribution. Direct distribution is when you can buy the product directly from the maker of the product. If you think about it, you can't knock on the door of the Toyota factory and say, I would like a new Toyota Tundra. And they're going to sell one to you right there, right? So no, Toyota manufactures the cars and trucks in a variety of different places, but they have all these manufacturing facilities. They in turn take the finished car and they sell it to the dealerships. Those are franchise dealerships. And then the dealership turns around and sells it to us, the final consumer. So what is direct distribution? Well, when we look at in the network marketing space, like Amazon and Airbon and a bunch of these companies, they actually do have direct distribution. So you can contact them and the rep will sell it to you directly. They could also even be looked at as indirect distribution because a lot of those network marketing spaces are actually selling their products to the salespeople, and then they're in turn selling it to us, the final consumers. So direct distribution is rare. That's when you're the maker of the thing and you sell it directly to consumers and there's nobody in between. With the growth of online retail sales, we are seeing more direct distribution companies where you can actually go online, purchase the product, and it goes directly to you. Like Shave Club, you can go there and get razors and things, and they ship it directly to you, and they're also the manufacturer of those items. Okay, so Place, we fiddle with it the least as marketers, and it's because of the potential for channel conflict. And usually it's indirect distribution, meaning we're making it, we're selling it to somebody else, they're marking it up, maybe selling it to somebody else, and then finally it's sold to the final consumer. So 2 learning objectives for this week's lecture. You have direct and indirect and multi-channel distribution. Understand what each of those are. I just talked about direct and indirect, and I'll talk about multi-channel in a second. And then the second learning piece is channel conflict. So that's the learning objectives for this Place lecture. Your other lecture this week is retail concepts, and there's some learning objectives on those. That's a separate lecture. Here we go. So let's talk about multi-channel distribution. So we just talked about direct, no intermediaries in between. We talked about indirect, which is how most things are sold, and that's depicted on this slide here. Perhaps you're a publisher of books, you're a publisher of computer books, and you can sell in a variety of different ways. Consumers can now go directly onto your website and purchase the book, which you like as a publisher because you don't have to discount the product and sell it to a retailer who then marks it up. So your profit margins are a lot higher. So one of the advantages of selling online is that typically your profit margins are higher. If you think about it, if you make a widget, a thing, maybe it's a shoe, you're the maker of that shoe and you're going to sell it to Payless Shoes or some other organization, right? Or you're going to sell it to some online retailer like Amazon, more likely nowadays. And people have a certain reference price on what they're willing to pay for a product. Maybe those shoes go for on average $45, but you're going to sell it to Amazon at $25, right? And they're going to mark it up and then sell it. So the price you pay at the retail location is not the price, the profit that the manufacturer gets for that product. I think we all kind of understand this, but you have to discount the product, sell it to the retailer, they get to mark it up, etc. Well, then why even sell retail, right? It seems like shouldn't it be better to just sell online? That way you can keep more of the profits. Well, ideally, yes, but there are products that consumers only buy or more comfortable buying in a retail environment. If you think about it, if you want to buy a car, you kind of want to go and see and feel and touch that car and test drive it. So it would be unusual for you to buy it online, sight unseen. Now, those models exist now, and you can do that, but it's less common. There's just some things that we're still more comfortable buying in a retail location. So that's one reason why folks still sell things in retail locations, like clothing is an example of that. Another reason is because you can sell a heck of a lot of product with one retail contract. So if you watch Shark Tank, you'll see this and they'll ask, like, do you have a purchase order? Yes. How many stores? It's one store. Frowny face. It's the entire chain. Wow, big smiley face. So if you can get your product in to a retail chain, you have in essence sold a ton of that product with one purchase order, right? So you get tons of volume, but you get less margin. So there's a trade-off there, right? Whereas if you sell online, particularly if you're a new product and people aren't familiar with you yet, you've got to kind of build a customer base and build awareness and spend marketing dollars. So you may have less volume, but your margin's higher because you're selling it online. You might think, oh, it's pure profit when you sell online. No, that's not true. You still have to make the product, so there's a cost of goods sold there. And then you also have to operate your marketing machine with your online sales. You have to have a website, you have to have a landing page, you're going to have some back-end software like Infusionsoft, and you're going to have to hire freelancers to kind of put things together and run the marketing piece for you. You wouldn't be able to do that as one individual person, not without running yourself ragged. So online sales still have higher margins than retail. You don't have to discount the product, which means your margins are higher. So on this example, we see a multi-channel distribution. That means you might be selling direct, like we see here. They can buy directly from the publisher's website, and they might also be selling indirect. So we see, let's call it Walden Books, and they're selling to a wholesaler, who then might sell it to a bunch of different folks. This would be comparable if your Del Monte Foods, right, which makes a lot of canned foods and other things. You're not going to go to the Del Monte food manufacturing area and order yourself a can of corn and pick it up directly from there. You're going to get it from a retail location. And Del Monte Foods is probably making that corn in a variety of sizes. Restaurants want huge cans of corn because they're making chili and they need 50 gallons a day of canned corn. But they're also going to sell it to grocery stores, and they need smaller can sizes, right? So there's a lot of what we call breaking the size and assortment of products into different sizes. That's what wholesalers do. So you might sell that can of corn, and then they say, here's the different sizes that we need, and they're gonna in turn sell it to restaurants, and they're gonna in turn sell it to grocery stores, maybe even convenience stores, etc. So if you're Del Monte Foods, it's easier to sell to a wholesaler, one big order, one purchase contract, than try to sell and deal with all the different sizes that they need for all those different retailers. That would be very complex to manage. So that's why we have wholesalers. Those are an intermediary that we as consumers typically don't see. And in the food industry, there's Rykoff and there's Cisco. There's a lot of companies that do this. We don't see them because they're behind the scenes. So you'll sell to a wholesaler, and then they'll sell it to all these other retailers, and then we in turn as final consumers come in and buy it or consume it at the restaurant or some other retail space. So that's why we have wholesalers, and that's the whole concept of multi-channel distribution. It's very common nowadays for most companies, certainly retailers, to be multi-channel, and most of them are what we call click and mortar. Click and mortar. They used to be called brick and mortar, which means they have a retail space, brick and mortar, like a building, and that's how they sell their product. But now most retailers have gone click and mortar, which means we still have our retail locations, but we also have an online presence. Retailers are struggling, trying to find a foothold and still remain profitable. And looking at those retail locations where you have to pay rent, you got to have lights and utilities, and you got to have staff to run those stores, they're less profitable than the online models. Again, some things people just want to buy in an actual store. So I mentioned that there's not a whole lot of direct channels. I gave you the example of Dell computers. Dell is actually multi-channel because now they sell to retailers as well, but you can still buy it direct. So, but in the what we call the business-to-business marketing, businesses that sell their stuff to other businesses, that could be raw materials. Maybe you make wine bottles and you're going to sell those to Gallo Winery, right? And then they're going to use that to produce their product. So business products tend to be direct, meaning they sell directly to their customers and there's no intermediaries in between, which makes sense because they're selling directly to the business They don't need to have intermediaries. Whereas consumer products tend to have indirect channels, right? So here's an ad for Celestial Seasonings. And obviously, to package that up, you're not going to go to Celestial Seasoning and say, I need 1 box of tea. They're going to sell to retailers and do it through that channel. Again, it's changing. So there's a lot of consumer products that are now migrating out of the traditional retail space and being sold online. We're getting more and more comfortable with purchasing things online. And I think we're right now, at the end of 2017, about 13% of all sales are done online. So you can see that in the retail concepts lecture. Okay, so here's an example of a quiz question that you might be asked around the place piece. So here's Andrea's Kitchen. It's a catering business. It has a website. Customers can order these party platters. They vacuum pack them in dry ice and ship them directly to the customer's address via overnight delivery. So what type of distribution is Andrea's Kitchen? This one is direct. This one is direct. The answer would be C, because people are ordering directly from the manufacturer of the product and they're shipping it directly to the consumer's house. There's no intermediaries in between. So I've already told you a little bit about intermediaries. This is an ad. I'm sorry, my face is cropping off the ad a little bit, but Emerson is a wholesaler that helps with distribution. So there's all kinds of distribution companies. You've probably been in the store and seen somebody stocking the shelves, but they're wearing a different shirt than the rest of the employees. So that's a distributor of some type. It could be someone who's a rack jobber. They go in and they have a route that they work and they fill the racks up, once a day. So there's a whole army of companies behind the scenes that manage this distribution piece for manufacturers. And then as we get near the end here, so the type of product that you're selling helps determine how intensively you need to distribute that product. So if we think about it, if you're selling convenience products like snack foods, those need to be intensively distributed, right? People aren't going to go out of their way to search and try to find a bag of potato chips. They expect it to, or soda. They're going to I'm at Home Depot, I'm thirsty, I'm working on my house. I'm going to find it's there. It's also in convenience stores. You can go just about any retail location. You're going to see these products, batteries, right? Those are intensively distributed. So the type of product determines how intensively it has to be distributed. So convenience products are typically intensively distributed. And as you can probably guess, selective distribution is for shopping products. So that's typically where you as the manufacturer of the product, you want maybe you're exclusive to a retail chain, because that oftentimes is the case. You might get a contract with Best Buy or Bed Bath & Beyond, and they say, we will carry your product. We're Best Buy, and we're going to sell your remote slide advancer laser pointer thing. But we want to be the exclusive distributor of this product. In exchange for being the exclusive distributor, we're going to give you some marketing support. We're going to put these featured at eye-level shelving, and we're going to let you do this kind of signage in store. That's all negotiated in what's called a co-op agreement between the retailer and the manufacturer. So selective distribution is when you have a product that it needs to be in a retail store, and people are going to have some questions, and that you want that retailer to provide some support for that product. Exclusive distribution, not very common in consumer products. This would be in the realm of like luxury goods. For example, you might be a Rolls-Royce distributor and have a Rolls-Royce dealership. And I believe there's one in San Diego, and they're co-branded with some other luxury brands like Alfa Romeo, and it's in La Jolla. But you wouldn't need 5 or 6 Rolls-Royce dealerships in San Diego, right? So one is more than sufficient. So with luxury brands, they might have exclusive distribution agreements. And again, it's more common in the business-to-business sector. Maybe you are a distributor of snap-on tools, which are hand tools that are used by mechanics in garages, and you have the San Diego territory and you're the exclusive distributor of snap-on tools in the San Diego market. But you're selling those directly to another business who uses those tools to sell their products and services to customers. So exclusive distribution, more common with business products or luxury goods in the consumer area. So that's the level of distribution. It varies depending on the type of product. So the last concept I want to talk about with regards to place is channel conflict. Channel conflict is this. If you as a manufacturer decide to start selling in a new way your products, then you run the strong risk of upsetting the folks that are already selling your products in their channel. So this picture here is Walmart. We know Walmart, large discount retailer, but if you are a grocery store chain, let's say you're in the Southern California market, you're Vons, and Vons has worked out a deal where they're going to be ordering X amount of Knudsen cheese and stocking it in their stores. And that's all working fine. And then Knudsen decides to write a new contract with Walmart. So Walmart is a massive retailer. We're all familiar with them, and now they're going into the food category. Well, the grocery stores aren't going to be happy about that because they know that Walmart sells a ton of volume, and if there's a Walmart that's in the same shopping center as a grocery store, why would they come to my grocery store for cheese when they can now get it at Walmart, right? That enters the realm of channel conflict. So when you have a contract with an existing distribution partner, a retailer, and you start adding in new distribution channels, hey, we're going to sell online, that's going to create conflict with your existing channel partners, and they might drop your product. So this happened when I was at Petco. We had Iams dog food, which was our primary brand. So they gave us a lot of money to feature their Iams dog food in our stores. And we'd always put them at the front of the store, you know, prime real estate as far as displays. We'd feature them in our monthly mailer that went out to all of our customers in our database. And we were partnering pretty specifically with Iams. Iams was only available in pet food supply stores at that time, pet food specialty, or category killers like Petco and PetSmart. So, and then the brand grew and became more popular, and people would come to our stores to get that Iams dog food for their pets. It was considered one of the premium dog foods at the time. Well, fast forward several years, and Iams is now a well-known brand name, and Iams comes to Petco, and they tell us, you know, we're going to start selling in the mass channel, which means we're going to sell in grocery stores, we're going to sell in Walmart, we're going to sell everywhere. And of course, Petco was upset about that. We've been working with you for years to help build your brand. And if you go mass merchandise, then why are people going to come to Petco to get Iams? Now they can get it elsewhere. And that would hurt Petco's business in two ways, right? One, they're no longer selling the Iams dog food. But two, people were coming to Petco for a separate trip to get the dog food, and they'd also get some other toys and treats and snacks for their dogs at the same time. So again, when you start selling in a new way, you run the risk of upsetting your channel partners. Also at Petco, when I was there, we launched an online website, and customers can now go onto the petco.com website. And this is quite a ways back when the internet was still pretty early, but we had purchased ePets, which folded, and then we got their website, so we could now sell online, thinking that online might be the future of retail sales. And we had a lot of complaints from our stores in New York, because in New York, people love to shop online. They don't like to go to retail stores. It's expensive and time consuming to try to schlep products around in that big city where people tend to use taxis quite a bit. So online sales were very popular right out of the gate. and it hurt immediately those New York stores. They were company stores, so they didn't have any say in the matter. But if those were franchise locations, you can understand why they would be upset. And, that would be kind of getting into contract dispute area and really upsetting those franchise partners that were now selling online. So that's the issue with channel conflict. So that covers your place lecture. Again, you have the separate lecture, which is just on retail formats themselves. And here's your homework for this week. Thank you for listening. Bye-bye.